Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and welcome to everybody in the gallery. And once again, I'd like to commend all the people who have brought us to where we are today with this bill. Now, I know exactly what Senator O'Sullivan is trying to do with this bill, and I completely appreciate it. And the reason I do is that I'm obviously from the area of the Corb gas project. And I saw and followed and witnessed and lived through everything that happened around that project, and indeed what continues to happen when we see unemployment rates at over 30% and we see our gas flowing out, to be followed by our oil and everything else. We also lived through the seismic testing that was done out there, offshore, and then the subsequent earthquake. And while we say there isn't a connection or whatever, I think there's too many coincidences there. So with all of that, I also saw the way that the attempts that were made and in some cases successful, to divide the community on it, on the whole issue, and to divide the community in terms of if you weren't absolutely whole 100% in one box, then you had to be in the other box. And I look at this and I look at the amendment that's been done, and I agree with every word that's in the amendment, absolutely every word without reservation. But this amendment deals with the offshore explanation and extending the ban into conventional gas and oil extraction. And this is not what this bill is intended to do. And I also recognise the absolute urgency for communities around what needs to be done to prevent fracking. And I am frightened of my life of fracking and the possibility that fracking can be allowed online. And that is in no way to diminish how I feel about anything that's done offshore. And we have often cited the true map of Ireland and how it brings in all of our offshore explanation. So an outright ban on all exploration, the banning of conventional offshore gas and oil exploration was not the intention of this bill, nor would it seem to be the immediate concern for all of those people involved in the community groups across Leitrim, Sligo, Clare, Mayo. And they are all fearful of the awful consequences, like myself, that fracking could have on their environment and on their health. And remember, once fracking starts, there is no end to it. Once they get a foothold in there, it will be impossible to get them out. This offshore environment is very much a different environment in terms of exploration. The intention of this amendment, as I said, is that Ireland will never use any oil or gas found off its shores, as other countries have done so, such as Norway, where the state has benefited. And we would always have advocated the Norwegian model, and indeed how the Norwegian government stood up to oil and gas explorations into how things were done there. But obviously we were ignored. We were ignored right through the decade and beyond. Our aim should be to phase out fossil fuels to create a greener, more energy self-sufficient island, but we have to be realistic. The time frame is relatively long considering the technology available. What storage technology is there for renewable, for instance, but we hope that this grows. What we need is a realistic time frame to phasing out fossil fuels and to map out the alternatives, and this should be our priority. I desperately want to see this bill going through to deal with onshore fracking, and I will absolutely support what is being said in the amendment here today at another stage, when we seriously look at offshore drilling and everything else, including the deals that are being done and the protection of our environment and our citizens and everything else. So with that, I cannot support this amendment today, and I look forward to seeing it on the table in the future, that we can deal with it in another context.
Okay, thanks very much, Senator Conway-Walsh.